In fact,
Next question.
In fact, it's not another way. Of course, you feel very vulnerable because you are being truly. So many people don't like to be truly. Part of the audience comes to see entertainment. So when they shock with some truly event, it depends how I take it. It depends the culture, but of course you are extremely vulnerable. Imagine you are telling something that it was horrible for you as experience, and someone is just saying how bullshit it is. So, but that's the artist, eh? That's the how you say, the challenge. At the same time, it's an inspiration. But I think with subject, what is being shown and inspired by, it was such a truly reality in the moment. I don't think people can really say anything wrong about this because we all know is that. You cannot say something about death. It is. So that's the only good thing. Maybe we were brave because we needed to express what was happening. It's not about death, it's how it comes to your life.
I think in many ways, everything that an artist creates has a bit of themselves in it. I think at the age we were before we made Subject to Change, and Shot actually, they both were created the same evening. We were more naive. You know, we were making ballets, enjoying it with our fantasies, with our emotions, not so conscious that perhaps we were showing so much of ourselves. Whereas with Subject, when this difficult time occurred, this personal tragedy, you could say, for us it was very necessary to express about that. And coincidences, which are not coincidences, bring everything together. And we were working with the music of Schubert, with Death and the Maiden, and we had this beautiful idea with a red carpet, something related to love or life or death, and it all fell into place. I would say it was the therapeutic experience for us. It was a creative, therapeutic experiment. And it was the first time, as I say, I think we were the most conscious about that we were literally showing ourselves. Whereas before we were doing it, but less conscious. I think that's what the difference is.
I wanted to correct a detail. We didn't predict we were going to show this. It actually is not true. And that's why Subject is exceptional, unique in our career and for the public too, because we didn't plan it. What we planned was something else. But the reality enter, because it was 24 hours in our system. At the main time, then we have to go to the hospital. At the main time, we have to take care of a child. At the main time, for the first time, we were going to do a whole evening. It was so many things and enter. Yeah. Really, I remember doing the last part of the day, being exhausted about the reality. And it did create, how you say, it was like a crystal ball. You know, when you enter, when things become reflected in a little bit distorted angle, but it was, you know. It's very special.
And I think as a young person, for me, it was the first time I was confronting death, actually, on close terms. And I didn't really want the end of the story. And we somehow were playing with that idea as well. This piece should not be tragic, because death should not be tragic. And you look at the poem of Schubert, what he wrote Death and the Maiden from, you know, and the girl is saying, you know, don't take me, keep away from me. And then he says, but I'm your friend, like I'm here, I'm going to take care of you. And so these elements were, like Sol said, we weren't planning it, it was just there, it was there, it was there. So I'm not looking at, of course it makes me sad when I see it, it creates emotions. And hopefully the audience, like you say, we brought them closer so they feel something too. But I don't think people should go in with the expectation that this is going to be sad, because I think that's also their choice, what they feel. And yeah.
I think from the beginning, because we are two, that's one of the good things about being two, you cannot be personal, because you become universal, yeah? Because if I speak and he speak, and then you listen to things, it's not one thing. It's two opinions already. It's two sides. And it gets closer to what we have in common with the rest of the world. That is what naturally happened because we are two. So personal, maybe it got very personal from one thing that he say, but it's not for me, or the other way around. No, it's not personal. I wish, but it's not. And I love it. You know, it's like when you have a child and you deliver birth, and then you realize how many women did that. So, of course, it's personal because it's you. It's through you, but it's not personal. So I think all these themes are through us because everybody else.
Sometimes I think we go close. Maybe from my perspective, I'm like, wow, I put a lot of myself out there. But like you said in your first question, it feels like a diary. If I look through our 65 works now, it is like a diary. Of course it is. They represent some moment in your life. Can be less important, can be more significant. And sometimes there are pieces that, or works, or evenings, or moments professionally that are very important. Can tell you now, and it's not because I'm here, Subject to Change and Shut to Shut was a very big moment. It was a big moment for us in 2003, which is when it was 20 years ago. We'll never forget that night, that period, this creative time. We worked with a younger company, so they were all 18 to 21 years old. Very fresh, very green, having to confront these creations with us. And it was one of the most beautiful times when I look back. And I think two very remarkable works from us, very different.
Yeah, but again, I wanted to remark, nothing happened only to us.
Yeah.
So I will not call it personal. If you know what I mean? I mean, you mean personal because it went, but I wanted to emphasize because this is art. You see, I am not interested in something that happened just to us. I will not do it. To who? To who I have to, you know, it's so egocentric. So I wanted to say my point of view is no, it's not personal.
I think every journey is it's cliche, but every journey is unique. And we actually haven't done it in so many other places outside of Nederlands Dance Theater. I think we've only done it once, Subject before, and Shut to Shut maybe twice, you know, so, and that's over 20 years. The last time we did it with an outside company was at least 10 years ago. So I'm looking forward very much to somehow, I feel very connected to Robert and his vision of what he wants from the group. And I think that they're really interesting. We've got to see them now. We haven't even begun, so we're recording this before the fact. But very interesting to see the performances we watched of them. And actually tomorrow we start the journey. And yeah, I think it will be unique, of course. Yeah.
Because we keep forgetting. Nobody talks about the public. And to me, after I left 2-3 years ago in the Tay, we were very protected in our own home and comes out to work with other cultures and companies. I have to say, the thing that strikes me the most is public. Because we never talk about public, but let's talk about public. How are they prepared to take something? I think I'm not expecting good because normally now the few times that we did the work, for example in Munich, everybody was saying, oh, it's so conservative, oh, it's, you know, they are used to classical. And the way they react, it was a huge surprise for everybody else. And it was sold out all the time, especially with the olders. They loved it. So you never know, I'm curious. And when it's the contrary, when there are many countries that they don't react and they keep conservative and blind, it worries me. And I will not say, because I can tell you, dancers is like a whole community of human beings. It's no difference. Directors, more or less the same, they have to adjust the cultures. Public is the big, educating, how you say, openness. Yeah, it's kind of something about it. Then I will say I expect everything for the dances and for the house here. Maybe technical size, they cause them to adjust to a certain level than the perfectionists we have in the aesthetic and in the presentation. Let's say in the package, we have a high. This maybe can be a little bit uncurious, but public is the one thing. And I think here in Poland, somehow, because I remember as a young person, when we came to Poland, it was amazing what I felt. amazing. And I keep saying it. My best public was Poland. But you need to wake them up. Wake them up.
Yeah. I agree with Sol. I think the community of dancers in the world, we're a species. We're not a huge species. We're not that many dancers in the world if you put in comparison to everything else. But it's an amazing group of people. I think we can always find something to connect with. I'm hoping from the dancer side that openness will be there, because talent we can deal with. That's in all modesty. We can take something and improve it in our language, in our signature, which is very important to us. But if somebody is not open to change, then it's more problematic. So what we're looking for is people with this, with that mentality, with that desire, and I'm pretty confident we'll find that. I think that both pieces have very strong aesthetics, different but connected. They were made in the same moment, but they're very different works. But they are connected, and they're not going to have a choice. We're going to bring them in. They're going to be, you could say, carved and sculpted into the way we want them to look, because that's the point of inviting creators in your house, is because that they give it a vision and a language. And we talk about a lot of these metaphors when we're working with them.
I think it's good that Robert has the courage to invite us, because we are not easy. What I mean, easy in the bad sense. Because dance these days is having a big crisis, because the world is going very fast. It's all about business. It's about doing it with no time. It's about, I call it the McDonald's of dance. It's quite big. So we're going to ask for the time, for the investment. The dancers are going to have to go through something that I'm sure they love it. I'm sure, because what we are going to give them is something that they are going to use it for the rest. But, it's kind of like a big statement. It's not just, let's sell a ballet. It's not like this. It's not the choreography. The choreography is not just the shallow form. It's much more than that. That's why people love it. And everybody wants it. But then they realize what it is. And, it shakes a lot of subject in the system to have something from us, because it's, and that's what the beauty is.
There's an intensity with us.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And that dialogue that Sol was talking about, so it's not just one person, it's two visions, two ideas. We're connected, we know what we're doing, but in fact we emphasize our differences deliberately. Because you could say, like, a child has two parents, then, it doesn't, in traditionally anyway, then you have to learn to deal with that too, and that's what the artist will confront. But as Sol says, not in the negative sense confront, because I think it's 50% the ballets and 50% the artistic journey. Maybe what we can share of our years in a very beautiful creative company has more to do than just our ballet. Because it carries more in our, because it's our world, it's our expression. The Schubert has a funny story, because actually they both have funny stories, but they're completely different worlds. But when we started the ballet, like Sol said, these events that became, in a way, the emotional narrative were not there. So we started creating, and with that piece, I was a bit more in charge. I'd found some music. We chose the Miserere Me from Allegri. Loved this piece of music, absolutely beautiful. And we had actually begun with it. And then I go to the public library to look for music. It was the way I do it, CDs and just book. And I picked up this, because it's not the string quartet, it's Mahler's transcription of it. So it's actually for chamber strings. And I brought it in the room. We were rehearsing with a very beautiful assistant of ours, of someone very close to us. And I just put it in and said, I like this music too. And everyone was like, you have to use this is much better. Like, we love the Miserere Me, but this is really good. So suddenly one day we were like, we're going to change the music.
But we actually did already one of the pas de danse is made with that music. Yeah. So it became like the other's reality. But the music was like this, but the piece of carpet and the idea of these faces appearing was influenced from Bacon and from the Mexican culture, where they used to put the skeletons in a very symmetrical, somehow, way. that was very strong. So we have the how you say, the space was the
It was
side.
fixed, we knew, yeah.
But then the music we enter, and then
Switched it.
and then the space was very descripted, because normally when you are creating in a studio, you sit here, you have the dances here, you have the piano here, you have the door there. So that in the ballet, it's the way they look at the outside is exactly the same. Yeah, and with Shotes was totally. It was part of the whole evening the same, but we did explore for the first time with Giri. He make a ballet where we have to be the characters, and we were play back our own voices. Yeah, so it was the first time. Now, of course, everybody's using it like big time, influenced by words. So the movement of the word came because the sound of our own voice. So Paul has this single for many, many, many years.
Like an old LP record.
And then he said, look at the voice of this woman. Just because the voice, I adore it. My English was not so good, but I could immediately understood what she was saying, why she was saying, and why did she put that. And I have nothing to do with Gertrude Stein. Did I say it right? He always correct me my English, forget than Spanish.
So it was, actually I'd heard, because Sol had to talk, and she said, well, I have to talk in English, I'm a bit uncomfortable. So I was putting it was 20th century poets reading their poetry. This recording is from, I think, 1919 or something like this, with Gertrude reciting this poem. And it's about Picasso. So, well, related to Picasso. So I thought, well, this is fun, and she sounds so pompous, no? In her, and I played it to Sol, and then we were both like, oh, this would be good in a ballet. But we didn't originally plan that it would be only the poem. What? Yeah, I did. Of course I did. No, it was my idea.
Liar.
No, it's on film. It's true. It's on. It must be true because it's on film now.
I have the idea to say, what about if we make this? Come on,
No, wait.
And until
Partly.
Did
you see that?
Until the general rehearsal, he said, "So, are you sure why we don't put a music in top?" And I felt so.
That is not the story.
Yeah, it's the
we have to be very careful here. Huh? You see what's happening?
Yeah.
No. We thought we were going to make a bigger ballet, and we thought we'll put it in. But then this bigger ballet collapsed because of the circumstances. So then Sol said, "But let's just make it one ballet." And then, yes, at that time I was like, "But that's ridiculous. It's 4 minutes. Like, it's stupid."
Anyway, I felt very. It's the first time that I felt. Normally we kind of agree. But this time I felt very, the weight was in me alone, saying like, maybe I'm going to fail, maybe this is terrible idea, maybe nobody's going to get it, because it was very, very difficult. Like
to do for a dancer.
For the two dances, it was very difficult to get what I was reaching, the perfection of the movement of her voice. And not just because that, but because, I don't know if you hear, but it's a big dilemma about who was the father of the Cubismo, when actually many people say the mother was Gertrudis, because the way she wrote is Cubismo. And if you put the word in it, like you will see in Shotes, you can see that is Cubismo. Because you know what I mean? It's not just, if you maybe just read it, if I told him the repetition of it, you will not see if you see it in a movement. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to do it. I got very, very, how you say, greedy, like, oh my God, I discovered something that nobody saw. And then we say, okay, let's do the shape like in the Guernica. So the black and white goes just one direction. And anyway, you have this idea, it's very hard for the dancers, and then gets to the general, and oh my God, it's just like, this is not going to work. This is not.
It was before the general, it was like 3 days before, and we did a run through. There was nobody in the audience because we were just working alone with the technicians, you know, who were smoking at the table, you know, and we were looking like, and then we did it, and we were like, and then we were said like, shall we cancel? Like, maybe it's not going to work. And the director was like, no, but the way he said it, like, no, let's do it. You know, a bit like, yeah, it's not going to work, but let's do it anyway. And then we did, and people
I find
understood.
this piece of music. I'll be like, oh. You say to me, I find this piece of music.
What was great was that people understood the challenge. It's like watching, I don't know, people do incredible physical things or mind puzzles, you know, and you're watching it, and at the same time you're receiving the information, and it's been a
the fact that it's her voice, and the fact that you feel time because the recording. I'm very happy. It's something that we actually use it in the Metropolitan Museum in New York, in the Guggenheim and the Rembrandt. It's a little piece of art.
It fits museums. It's quite good. Probably the shortest full-length ballet in the world, I would imagine. 4 minutes, you know.
Yeah. And everybody said, "Oh, you asked me this money for 4 minutes." It's like you have a diamond. Will you doubt? You know, so it's like this conflict.
Yeah. That's okay.
It's okay. But it's okay, yeah.
A pearl.
A pearl, yeah.
Party.
The passion and the love to do something.
Mm-hmm.
That's first. Because you can have 1,000 ideas. If you don't have the love of the wish, nothing will happen.
Yeah. It's always the same. It's
the anger to create something. You see, because we are creating so much, so long, that if there is not place in the heart, it doesn't exist, you know. And I feel now I can say to you, what it comes first is this. Normally you say, oh, the music, oh, the decor. It's like, no, guys, what it comes first is your wish.
It depended. After that, it depends. Yeah.
It came very much home.
Yeah.
It came the traveling. No, I remember now. I came because it was the beginning. We were going to lose the house. You know, we lost the house. We lost the building where we are being working, and we loved it. And the society and the politician decide we're going to destroy. So this happened 15 years earlier than that. We felt the voices, we felt the changes in the company, the changes of the direction, the direction of the direction. So we say a piece or a square piece, then we can be safe.
I think
that was the beginning.
I think as well we're very much aesthetics, simple aesthetics, but important like hell. And you've got this, well, you begin with a black box, no, or an empty space. And I was very much obsessed with the idea of having a space within the space that was determined, that was fixed, that had its borders and its boundaries. And then I loved the idea of the carpet because I was like, but it's movable. So your home can be in different areas and can be different shapes and sizes, but actually it's always fixed. It can go anywhere and it can alter and metamorphosis in a way.
The dancer will be in.
Yeah, and we're responsible for it.
It became super, so you see, the symbol of the, again, it was not the idea, it was the meaning. What can we do to represent? Then the space, it becomes very little, but it is our space. The outside change, and actually that's why the movement of the walls are changing. That's why these men, they appear, they disappear. It's like death, it's like ghosts, it's like politicians, it's like the reality, it's like the other world. And then you have this beautiful, innocent soul. And death fell in love with it.
Because there's much more than you'd see on the video. It seems like it's a pas de deux with some people, but the four men that are around are incredibly important.
Are determining
even though
the
physically
changes.
they do less, they are one of the most important factors in the work. So it's always very much because dancers judge by, oh well, I haven't got the pas de deux, I do this, but we always work very hard on those four characters because they are representing so much. You know,
they are essential.
Without them, you don't have the story, you don't have the poetry.
No. This is one of the samples of the whole thing, because it's like they are much more important than the pas de deux, because they are actually directing the space and the destiny. Yeah, and in the pas de deux you try to change it, accommodate, but in the end, it's the end. You know, so it's very, I am very proud that destiny entered like this to make a ballet.
aesthetically also, obviously the color. You said it already. Where you see blood, I see love. It can be life, it can be death, it can be everything. So the color was important, of course. And red seemed like, after black and white, the most primary of colors we could get close to.
And
so it just fell in
also I
place.
feel Spanish. Somehow the red is very strong in me. You know, like it's one of the colors that, if you use it with a reason. You cannot use it as another color. Red is red, yeah. And I love black and white and red. These primordial colors are very. It's a tool to express yourself.